Peace, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Mindful Money, all right, where we show you how to make health and wealth holistic. How do we do that? Well, that depends on your lifestyle. What is it that you want to do? How do you want to retire? How do you want to live? We show you how to create a GPS for your finances and create realistic, achievable outcomes. Today, what we're going to be doing, we're going to show you some millionaire math, all right, for your money. I know everybody's got a different job, but I think you're really going to enjoy this presentation, all right? And I got to give a big, huge thanks to the children at the HIP elementary to middle school in Miami, Florida. They helped me create this presentation today. So here's uh here's what we got. Let's do this. All right, let me go ahead and double this. We're gonna create a new slide and we're gonna create a budget, not for retirement. We're gonna show you how to do millionaire math, right? Now we're gonna I'm gonna need a volunteer. In fact, I have a volunteer in mind, and I have an actual job that I think this person may be interested in. So we're gonna do this for the youth today, right? Got one job that I'm gonna show one special young person how to achieve millionaire status. All right. And everybody's going to get a kick out of this. Everybody's going to learn because if we make this so simple that the children can achieve it, mom and dad are going to have a kick at this. All right. So let's say that we got a young person, a little young man. We're going to call him Mikey. Right. Mikey. Well, Mikey, he wants to be a paleontologist. Right. Now, as a paleontologist, we got to figure out a couple of things, right? Yearly income. So if someone could do me a favor, look up the annual income for a paleontologist. Google it. You know, there's no shame in Googling it. And I know that there's probably going to be two ranges. There's going to be a low range and then there's going to be a high range. All right. So we're going to use the high range on that income as the base. All right. And then we're going to use just that starting income level as the base. Paleontologists, I don't know if they get bonuses, they get stipends. Maybe they write books. You know, they make money off their intellectual property from writing books. We never know, right? So
95K.
say again.
Uh, 95K and 160 to 500K. So, yeah, 160 for 500K. In
Okay,
other
so
words,
we're going
that's a big difference. In other words, 35K to the 95K.
so we're
I
going to
got
go
up
ahead
to
and
388.
Yeah, so this is 165 to 500. We interesting.
all right. So we got our ranges, right? Now, we put the high number in there as the goal. But here's what happens. Sometimes people make a certain amount of money, but then you have people who make just as much expenses as they generate in income, right? And then you have other people, and no, none of us want to be this person, but then we have other people who make a certain amount of money, and then they have expenses that are higher than the actual money that they make, right? So then what do they got to do? Well, let's think about some of the consequences of having more expenses than you do have money, right? One, you're gonna miss out on a lot of opportunities by not living within your means. Okay. So we're gonna create some reasonable expectations at the same time. So we gotta also put in here the yearly expenses. All right. These are the bills. And just like I told you today, anytime you see a parenthesis around your money, it's a negative. All right. So anytime you see a parenthesis around the money, you know that that's a negative. So what could be the average annual expenses that a paleontologist might have? Somewhere in the range of 36 to 45,000, maybe. Anybody want to just shoot a number at?
How much you think, Spencer? How many thousands?
Between tuition and living expenses, probably 60,000. You pay back that
So
bill.
about 60,000, okay. Tuition, paying student loans and everything else like that, because this paleontologist comes with a degree, you're right. So student loans, living expenses, food, fun, cars, right? And this is a starting paleontologist. This is a single starting paleontologist, not married, no children, but this young paleontologist may want to have a family one day. So we got to think about this too, okay? So at the start, what's a good amount? I heard someone say 60,000. Can we agree to 60,000, or is it going to be a little bit less than that or a little bit more?
That's cool. The low end I found was 48, but I think 60 is a good starting rate.
Okay, so let's go with 48. I like 48. 48,000 at the lowest, right? Because we're planning from a base point. So if every year you know that you have $48,000 worth of expenses and you constantly stay within that range, you'll never have to worry about having more bills than money at the end of the month. All right. I want you to have more money at the end of the month instead of more month at the end of the money. Okay. And think about that. It'll make sense later. Okay. I promise you it will. So let's go ahead and let's get this calculated savings. So just off of the subtracting the expenses, right? We have the savings that occur that gets built. And what's the difference between we subtract the 48,000 from the 95? We get 47,000 left over. Okay. Now, here's where things get extra interesting, because just because you got 47,000, you've got to do some things with this, right? You got other things that come like taxes, they're going to tax you on the money that's left over that you didn't spend, that you didn't invest, or that you didn't save and do anything with it. So let's create two extra accounts, a personal savings account, right? We gotta put some money in this young paleontologist's pocket so that way he doesn't get antsy about spending the entire 47,000. So let's put some money in this young paleontologist's pocket, right? I'm looking at this, I'm thinking 17,000. Anyone else agree with me? 17,000 is a good amount of money to put aside.
That's a good number.
It's a good little nest egg, right? So we'll
Yeah.
put aside 17,000, right? And because we want this paleontologist to do this right, we're going to tell this paleontologist to put it into a high interest savings account, right? That's my abbreviation. I don't know if there's an actual financial abbreviation for that, for a high interest savings account, but a HISA, that's what we just created that. Bomb. We just did that. All right. High interest savings account. That could be HSBC, right? That could be Goldman Sachs, all right? Whatever it is. And you want that's gonna give you something that's gonna be 3.5% or more. All right. Now what that means is number one, historically, we got to remember inflation. Historically, inflation has been about 3.5. So if you get something higher on an interest rate than 3.5, count your blessings. All right, because you're meeting and keeping pace with inflation, and that's a good thing. All right. What is inflation for the young mind? It just means that you got less money to purchase your favorite toys or go to your favorite movie or your favorite restaurant. I know restaurants might be a thing, right? So if you let inflation get at your money, it means that you're going to be losing some money to spend at your favorite restaurant. Okay. Now, having that high interest savings account, you got 3.5%. That's great. Your money is keeping pace with inflation, and you could use that 17,000 for whatever personal reasons that you might have, right? But of course, you don't want to exhaust that money. So, what do we got left over? We got money left over to do some investment. Okay, so
I don't
investment
want to talk nobody's
savings.
vote, but you forgot Uncle Sam.
Oh, well, that you're right. That's the reason why we're doing it like this now, because we already paid Uncle Sam through the $48,000 of expenses,
Oh, got you.
right? Now we're trying to figure out what to do with the remaining 47,000, so that way Uncle Sam isn't like, yo, let me get that, right? You got more money to play with, we got more money to tax. Come on, bring it here, bring it here. All right. So let's do something with it. So we got a remaining difference of 30,000. Now, when it comes to investments, investments come with interest rates, right? And just to make the math easy, we're going to say that just for the sake of an example, of an illustration, we're going to say that an interest rate offered for an investment is about 10%, right? So based on this interest rate, we know two things now. Number one, the history of this investment. If you're going to look at an investment, you want to look at the entire life history of that investment to determine what's the annual rate of return over the history of that investment. Okay. Now you can't predict the future, but you can look at the history of an investment, and that will give you not a definite outlook on what will happen in the future, because past profits are no indication of future profits and gains, right? And the same thing with past losses are no indication of future losses as well, right? But if we look at the rate of return, if historically it's constantly yielded about 10%, that means you can do a couple of things. You can make a one-time investment for a certain period of time. And when we got 10%, we know that 10%, our money is going to double in 7.5 years. Every 7.5 years. You might be saying, Prince, how did you come up with that 7.5 number? That's what we talk about, the rule of 72, right? That basically is when we divide 72, we put the little forward slash. That's the division symbol for those that may not know. So the forward slash, that's division. 72 divided by interest rate of 10%, right, equals 7.2. And that is the amount of years it takes for the money to double. 7.2 years, right? So let's think about this. We've got $30,000 in 7 years, right? How much is that money going to be? How much is $30,000 going to double into?
$60.
60,000, right? 7 years after that,
120.
20,
7 years after that,
240.
7 years after that,
480,
what was that?
480.
480. Okay. 7 years after that,
106.
are you, excuse me,
1.6.
one 1,600,000. $1.6 million in 35 years. Now, is it possible to achieve this a little bit faster? It could be. But here it is that we took a one-time investment of $30,000 that had been saved up from the entire year, put it into an investment that gave us an interest rate of 10%, which means that every 7.2 years, the money doubles, and it takes us 35 years from day one to turn $30,000 into $1.6 million without changing anyone's budget, without taking any extra money away from anything else, and at a base salary. Now, we could make other people millionaires based on their income, right? Based on their expenses, right? Some people, we can get them there faster. Other people, it may take us a little bit longer. One gentleman I did this presentation for earlier today, he's telling me he's got 3 children. He's 40 years old. He's just now learning some of the things that I just shared with you all, right? My team and I, because it's not just me on this call, my team of holistic financial planners, these are some of the concepts that we share with people, get them thinking about the future, right? Now, in the future, 35 years from today, you want to make sure that money is not a concern. And we just made sure that money is not going to be a concern. So what else did we do as a result of that? Let's look at it holistically, right? We took care of the took care of some mental health, right? Because finance is a number one concern of most people. Not having enough money to pay for their everyday expenses, not having enough money to handle an emergency should it come up, right? At the same time that we took care of the mental health, we don't have any emotional instability. So we took care of the emotions too. We made someone more emotionally stable, right? There's no fluctuation in eating patterns, so they're physically healthy too. And they've had an opportunity to create and design a life that caters to them and their lifestyle, right? So here it is that we took the brand new paleontologist savings from this first year at work, took $30,000 of those savings. We gave him 17,000 to play with. Hey, don't spend it all in one place. That's what we tell this young paleontologist. I know you got to think for the T-Rex, all right, and the mastodons. But I'm gonna need you to not go crazy on the next big T-Rex kit, okay? I need you to keep it within the budget, okay? Now remember, next year you got another 17,000 coming to you. If you don't spend it all, you got more money plus the next year's 17,000. And if you want to invest again, what could he do? Take the savings of 30,000 from year two's worth of income and start putting it to work for him. Come on now. 35 years from that year, he's made another 1.6 million. So we just made him is that $4.2 million in 36 years? Oh my goodness. What are we doing here? Who says that you want your child learning this type of skill in public school. This is stuff that you got to teach, and we all have to teach our children in our home. We teach them, go to school, get a good job, buy a house, get married, have children, maybe one day retire. But we don't encourage them to plan it out. So let's start encouraging more planning. Because we can do a lot more when we plan. It's never a plan that fails, but it always, in failing the plan, people tend to not do too well. So that's all we're saying. 48. Okay, I see that. What we doing? So we got questions because we got so much time left over. So much time, in fact, I can actually stop the recording.